Evening, folks. Welcome to another episode of Friday Night Rambles. Slightly later than planned because I can't work technology, and I basically decided to go live on the previous link. And yeah, this is why I don't trust myself with technology. I blame Jamie, but that's a different thing altogether. Welcome to Friday Night Rambles for a very special West End Rambles, because this week, thank goodness for that, the theatres have actually opened, and I'm really excited to actually go see theatre. When was the last time we saw... I can't even remember the last time I stepped foot into a theatre. But one of my favourite shows of all time is 9 to 5. Absolutely amazing show in the West End. And we're really lucky tonight because we have got 4 members of the London cast of 9 to 5. And I'm really excited. So let's welcome them now. So let's have... This... A funny little story. I know this first guest through a completely unique way, and I'm going to explain it later, but she's absolutely lush, and she's from my neck of the woods. It's Jenny Legg, everyone. Hi, Jenny. Welcome back. How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. Are you?
I'm all right. I'm a bit tired, but it's good to be here, and it's good to be talking to you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for organising this and helping me organise this 9 to 5 reunion. So we've got a lot of other people here with us as well, because we have got Doralee Rhodes herself. She is the original Doralee from London's West End. It's Natalie McQueen. Hello, Natalie.
Hi.
We have got Chelsea Halfpenny, who took over the role of Judy halfway through the West End run. Hello.
Hello.
And we have got Ben Irish, who played Joe as well. Hi, Ben.
Hey.
This is like a full set of characters here. All we're missing is Hart and Roz, and then we're sorted. I mean, I could get into Hart or Roz. I don't mind. I'll fit in the corset.
Well, Jenny's half a Roz. So...
Well, that's true. You were first cover in the West End.
You can just do both. So,
amazing. How is everyone doing?
Good.
Isn't it just nice the theatres have reopened again? Because I think for a lot of us, we've all suffered as entertainers and theatre folk over the last year. So it's just nice to get the theatres actually open again. I mean, you must all have friends that are in the first wave of shows that are going out. So it must be nice.
Yeah, it's really
weird. It's weird. It's kind of like bizarre. I don't know about you guys. It feels like it's not really happening. I think like we've been waiting for so long, and there's been so many like full starts. It feels weird, but like amazing at the same time. I can't wait to actually go and see stuff, because that was going to be the plan after 9 to 5 finished, and then we never got the chance. So now we actually can, which is nice.
Yeah. So what are people going to go see first? What's like booked in the pipeline? Has anybody got anything booked?
I haven't got anything booked yet, but there are things I want to see. I really want to see Dear Evan Hansen. And even actually, I want to go and see Everybody's Talking About Jamie, because I've never seen it. Like all those things that have been there the whole time we were in town. But because we had shows, I couldn't see any of them. So I'd like to go and see those. Yeah.
I got to go and see the dress rehearsal of Jamie when it opened in November for the couple of days that it was allowed to open for. And they made it really, really current. There's so many like COVID, social distancing jokes. They're all in face masks in the classrooms. Like they've done such a good job of bringing like it completely to how our lives are now. And the audience were howling with all like the new jokes they put in. It was so good.
Oh, that's amazing. And also like I know you obviously go to the theatre to escape, but there's something like this which is like really difficult to escape. And if you're watching a show where everyone's got a social distance anyway, it's like, how can you then? So then I like the fact that, like you say, they've made a thing of it, and everyone's in this. Yeah. Everyone can relate, really, and everyone enjoyed it.
And they kept it really real as well. There's like a little bit where, I mean, I don't want to give it all away. There's a little bit where Jamie's distancing from his mum's best mate, like his auntie. And his mum goes inside, and they both look, and when she leaves, they run and hug each other, and then run away again, so they don't get caught. Like,
I
love
we
that.
all might have done it.
And obviously, lovely Mel Jakes, who's been on Friday Night Rambles, she's back in it, which is it's nice to see people that we all know, just getting that break, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll all get to eventually be back on stage. What we're going to do is we're going to sort of say hello to everyone individually. So I'm going to put Ben, Chelsea and Natalie in the waiting room for just 2 seconds because I want to see my friend Jenny. Jenny, how are you doing? Welcome back to Friday Night Rambles.
Thank you for having me again. So exciting.
I know. So the last time we saw you, we were actually face to face in a theatre, actually in a real life theatre. So how have you been since September, since I last saw you?
To be honest, you know, I think when I've been asked this question before, I think sadly a lot of people have had nothing to do, and you know, I really feel for my friends who've had nothing to do, but I have been run off my feet with online. I've been absolutely bonkers busy with online teaching, which I am really grateful for, because I don't really know what state my mental health would be in if I hadn't been able to do that. So yeah, I've been good. I've had all of that. That's now starting to kind of fall away a little bit. In-person teaching is coming back and auditions are coming back.
Yes.
So I've been good. I can't complain.
And you are the queen of quarantine tap, or Quaritap as it's been called. So tell us a little about how you came up with that idea.
To be honest, it wasn't my idea. Well, the quarantine part of it was, but a couple of my friends kind of took the plunge really early on to do some stuff online, because obviously you would think that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Everybody was online doing everything else, so why not do dance classes online? I'm really lucky where we live that I've got lots of space. So I've got lots of space to dance in, and I thought, you know what, I'm really terrified about this, but I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. So I started with tap, and a friend who was doing the classes at the time actually called it Quarantap, just as a bit of a joke. And I said to her, actually, can I steal that and actually call it Quarantap? And I think there are many Quarantaps across the world during this time. But yeah, so I called it Quarantap. That was great. It's still going to this day. So I'm still Quarantapping over a year now. Yeah, and then there were other, obviously, workshops and other kind of dance styles that came alongside with that. Yeah.
Amazing. So what made you want to start doing tap? Like, when was this like your sort of first experience of tap dancing?
Oh, what a great question. So I could not, I probably said this to you before, I could not sit still, stand still as a child. I just could not be still. So my parents took me to dancing when I was about 3. And I started with ballet and with tap, actually. So I didn't really do any modern or jazz to begin with, but I did start with ballet and tap. And I may as well have been born with tap shoes on my feet, because it was literally, honestly, I have not stopped tapping since, and I love it. I think that you either love it as a dancer or you're not really that interested. And yeah, it's absolutely my cup of tea, right up my street. I love it. And I haven't been able to stop since.
I love that. And you've done quite tap heavy shows as well, if you're looking at your credits and stuff like that. I mean, the biggest one that stands out for me is Top Hat. What a fantastic show that is. So, and I didn't really actually get to speak to you much about Top Hat the last time around. So, how did Top Hat come around for you?
So Top Hat was about 2011, 2012-ish.
So like 10 years ago now. That's crazy
to
think.
Yeah. And obviously, as most auditions happen, we heard that these auditions were coming up. It was a world premiere of the show. It hadn't been done on stage before. And as with all auditions, I went to audition for it. It was quite evident at the beginning that they wanted strong tappers. And people who had maybe done shows of that style before. But it was incredibly, it was very tap heavy, very, very tap heavy. I actually was dance captain on that show. I did the first tour, and then it's most of its time in town, most of its time in the West End. It was my first West End gig, and it was amazing.
And that was obviously big publicity because of Tom Chambers being in it and Summer Strallen being in it, and then obviously it was subject to, which I completely forgot about until I found it on the depths of the internet, the Sound of the Musicals documentary on Channel 4.
Yes, that well-known documentary where there's a lovely shot of me sitting on the floor looking like I'm not doing anything.
Was that in that rehearsal that Alan Burke had?
Yeah, so we did this rehearsal. And obviously, as most TV programs do, they kind of twisted what was actually going on or what time of day it was or how long before the performance it was. But hey, entertainment purposes. And there's a shot of me sat on the floor looking like I'm just twiddling my thumbs. And I have to tell you, that show, I did not stop. That show was constant work from beginning to end. So it was hilarious when this shot of me sat doing nothing came up on TV. But yes, it was on this documentary, which was, I mean, an amazing opportunity alongside many other amazing opportunities that we got with that show.
Because I'm right in thinking at that point, was that the narrative where Alan Burke had to go on press night? Is that the narrative we're talking about? I bet, right?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean it was true that he had to go on, but that rehearsal was not on the same day.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. But to be dance captain on a show like that, especially with Olivier award-winning choreography, Olivier award-winning show, must have been a dream come true.
It was absolutely out of this world. I will never forget it. It really, I have to say, if nothing else, it really set me up for West End shows. If I was, I didn't even know if I'd be lucky enough to do another West End show. I was not expecting anything, but it was very different to touring. So it really taught me how it works. And I think if I hadn't had that opportunity and experienced what I experienced on that show, I think I'd probably have my blinkers on still, and I wouldn't work the way that I work. But it was out of this world, the whole experience.
Amazing. And that sort of brings on 10 years later, well, sort of maybe minus 2 years to 9 to 5. So tell us, just as a premise of how 9 to 5 came around. How did it come around for you?
I mean, same sort of thing again. The audition process was coming up. I will be really honest and put my hands up and say I knew nothing about the show. So when I got my audition, I obviously did my research at that point, but I didn't really know anything about it. I knew obviously that Dolly Parton had some involvement, obviously, but I didn't know the storyline. I didn't know if it was going to be my cup of tea. Or cup of ambition. But terrible
First
joke.
Dolly joke of the day.
Oh, there we go. I had to put it in somewhere. I didn't know if it was going to be my thing. So I did my research, and there is actually still a bootleg of the American version on YouTube. So I had a watch of it, and I thought, actually, even if I just end up being seen for ensemble, I really like the part of Violet. That really is kind of like get my teeth, sink my teeth into that. That's really my kind of thing. Went and auditioned, in a nutshell, got called back to read. I actually got called back to, read and sing for Violet. And then thinking that was going to be my final. And then on the train back, they asked if I was still in the area to come back in again because they wanted me to read for Margaret and just Margaret, just to read some more stuff for another part. I wasn't in the area, so I came back the following day and read for Margaret, sang again, and read again for Violet. And then at the end of a show, I was doing 42nd Street at the time. At the end of a show, my agent called me, which is very unusual at that time of night, and said they want to offer you ensemble, first cover Violet. And I was like, absolutely out of this world, blew my mind, was not expecting that. Margaret and second cover Roz, which I hadn't read for.
You were not read for Roz at all?
No, I didn't read or sing for Roz at all.
Wow.
And I appreciate now what they were doing was whoever covered Violet and Roz, the first and second covers then switched with each other to be first or second cover. But no, I didn't read or sing for Roz at all. But I mean, to be given one cover, never mind three, was just, I don't even know what to say about it.
And they are really meaty parts.
Yeah.
All the parts in the show, I mean, even the ensemble parts, they are meaty parts.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're amazing. And a really good opportunity for me to have a chance to go, I don't just do this. I can do this as well because, everyone gets pigeonholed. So it was really
that your
nice.
first time covering a lead in a West End show?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was that like going on for the first time in those parts?
To be honest, I very easily could have cried my way down from the back of the stage to the front of the stage on my bows in that show. I didn't, because I tried to hold it in so I didn't look like a sap, but I very easily could have cried. It was like nothing I've ever experienced. I never thought it would happen. You know, a 3-year-old Jenny, or even a 19-year-old Jenny coming out of college, never ever thought that would happen to me. So to actually have that opportunity and to get through it and to not, you know, fall off the stage or forget my lines was really quite something. It was amazing.
I love that. And you actually, in some way, shape or form, actually got to take over one of those parts for a little bit as well. So explain a little bit about that.
So I went on a lot for Violet in my sort of second part of the contract. I went on a lot. And towards the end, Louise Redknapp was meant to be going on her music tour to promote her new album. So at that point, she wouldn't have been in the building, nor would have been available to be in the building. So therefore, for me to play that part, I was Violet. I was in the Violet in the building. Molly was pushed up to first cover. And then if there had been a disaster and anything had happened to both of us, they would have revisited who would then be another cover. But technically, I was Violet for when we closed in the West End. I should have had a couple more weeks, but I'm not going to complain about that. I got 1 week, and it was, you know, even if it was just that I knew that I was Violet in the building, even if nobody else knew, I knew, and that was, you know, again, I just never thought I'd experience it, Robert.
And say you closed the West End show, and I mean, the fact that you closed it with Natalie and Chelsea and Ben as the leading cast, I think, is amazing. I'm going to bring Natalie up in a minute, just to give her a bit of warning. But I think, and obviously the social media side of it, and I remember going through the social media, just a bit of research, they really championed you and all the understudies that went on and all the cast changes that happened. And I thought that for a West End show, that was really nice. And like a lot of West End shows don't do that. But the fact that they were saying you were Violet for 4 weeks or however long you were going to be was just incredible. So in their eyes, you were Violet. So I'll tell you that.
They were great.
I'm going to bring Natalie on because Natalie, you and Natalie were there from the very beginning of the process. So Natalie, I'm going to say goodbye to Jenny for 2 seconds. But Natalie, I really want to know from you as well. So how did you find out about 9 to 5?
As in the audition process, or
the audition process, or the show.
Really, just a phone call from my agent. Really, like nothing crazy. We didn't know much about it. We didn't know where it was going. I didn't know who else was involved. I was very lucky. I had a very unique. It doesn't happen all the time. Short audition process. I think I had 2 auditions, which never happens ever. And then I had a Skype with the director, Jeff, which was when I found out about the other leading cast. It was all very fast. It was all very random. It was all one of those auditions where you find out you're going in for it and you think that's why that's wrong. And it just sort of happened. I don't know. It was very weird. Very unique experience. You don't get many auditions like that.
Because at the time you were in Kinky Boots as well, am I right in saying that? And that, again, it's one of my favourite shows. It's such an amazing part of Lauren. So I'm guessing to go from one show which closed pretty much straight before another, so going job to job must have been, again, an incredible experience. Yeah,
I've been very, 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 very lucky and fortunate in that I've not. There's never been a huge amount of time, which I feel very, very, #blessed to have had experience. But Kinky Boots was another one where it was super random, and that was the opposite. That was quite a long process. And to find out about that, and whilst doing one show, I was then rehearsing 9 to 5 and doing Kinky Boots in the evening. I was doubling up. It was all very surreal, very bizarre, and it made just going from one great show to another. unbelievable.
So the part of Dory, what made you sort of like become attracted to that part? Because I think that part is really understated. There's something about it, the way it's written, especially in the new updated version. There's something just quite magical about it.
Yeah, like as well, like I don't know, it was a bit random for me because like Lauren, if people know the show, like of Kinky Boots, it's a completely different role to Dory Lee Rhodes. Like, they're both very strong women, but they're very, very different. And I think that, you know, to go from one who's like this more of a, I don't know, she's a bit more, I don't know how to describe it. She's ballsy in her own way, but Lauren's not this glamorous, you know, sorry, that's my cat.
Cat alert. I love that.
So sorry. Yeah, like to go from that role to something completely different, which was Dora Lee, where it was, you know, this glamorous, super big hair, loads of makeup, was really strange. And I don't know, there is something about that role of Dora Lee. You know, she's the way that she looks. As soon as I would walk on stage, people might not know the show at all or the film, but in their head, even though I wasn't Dolly Parton, I was Dora Lee Rhodes. It was a character. It was somebody that they knew to look at, and they were like, "That's Dolly Parton." And I think that was, I don't know. Yeah, it is. Did you
feel that pressure though, that Dolly had played that part and people were expecting that?
You know what? No, I really didn't actually. I was like very. I did do some little bits like of like listening to like Dolly Parton speak, only because I wanted to get the accent. Like she does these little tiny things, more of like an homage to her rather than like a copy. But then by the time you do your rehearsal process and you open up a show, like all of that stuff, if it does become part of your show, it's super, super underneath the surface, or it gets phased out completely. And so no, I never felt the pressure. Even when we did press night and she was watching, I never really felt the pressure. I feel like her version is obviously the version, but my version I feel was very, very different. So I just, as long as she enjoyed it and she didn't think I was rubbish, that was really just the main thing.
But going back to what you were saying about the difference between Lauren and Dora Lee, I look at the parts you've played, and you've played Elphaba, Mad Hatter, in Wonderland. They are very sort of gritty, sort of very strong female characters, and I think they're all got like a link. There's always like an earthness to them in a weird way.
Yeah, they're all really different, but they're all kind of similar. Yeah, at the same time, I just think I've been really lucky to have played some of those women. I mean, it's unbelievable, really. Like all completely different, but all kind of got that thing in common. They're all their own version of themselves, which, as lame as it sounds, like I'm very much myself. Like I'm very individual, maybe in some ways. So it kind of that suits me fine. I'm very, very happy if I could continue playing on roles like that. That would be great. So yeah,
I love that. And obviously, with the process of rehearsing from the beginning, how much of, obviously, because the show went out years ago with, obviously Bonnie did it on the UK tour, and so how much of that changed when you went into rehearsal? Like, was there much changes as you were going through, or?
I'll be honest, I didn't know the tour version.
Yeah.
I don't know why, I must have missed that. I don't even, the only version that I really knew of was the Broadway version. I obviously knew that it would have been on tour, but I didn't know that particular version. So I don't know about many changes. I know that we got a brand new song written for us by Dolly. You know, in that rehearsal room, getting a recording through of Dolly herself singing all of our parts, like in, like, I don't know, her home studio, I guess. Was unbelievable, knowing that we were the first people to sing that song. So there were great changes like that, but it was very much let's see what you come up with everybody else, and most of my scenes were with Brian, and like that's not a hard thing, it was always very, very, very fun, and very fun to like both create those characters together. So I don't know about many changes. I don't actually know like how different it was, but I definitely think our version you know, that was at the Savoy was probably very different, just because of like the different people playing the roles and how they perceive them.
And you mentioned Brian Conley. I mean, there is no man on earth like Brian Conley. He's just incredible. So what was it like working with him and trying not to laugh? Because I'm assuming he would probably be trying to make you laugh.
I mean, listen, sometimes we did. Like, he's very funny. And, you know, I watched him on the TV growing up. You know, he's, you know, it's a puppet. Of course, I knew who he was anyway. He's super, super lovely guy, proper down to earth. Would always like come in, just randomly knock on your dressing room door, just come in, have a little cup of tea or a little sit down. Proper lovely. Sorry, my cat's getting up.
Oh, look, bring the cat on. Bring the cat on.
That's Suki. I've got another one. He's somewhere else. Just stealing the limelight. No, but yeah, Brian's lovely. He's brilliant. He did make everybody laugh. There was one show in particular where it was the first time that I've ever corpsed pretty much on stage. I think I'm pretty good, but I say that, but maybe I'm not. But I think I'm pretty good. But he was he's naughty, but in a great way. Yeah, he's brilliant. I loved working with Brian. I thought it was brilliant.
I love that, and also you got the Hasselhoff as well, which again,
yeah. David Hasselhoff, that was a crazy experience. Again, like, David Hasselhoff, like, I'm not joking. You can't put something on telly now. And, like, anytime, he'll be in everything. He's in everything. Like, I put an Adam Sandler movie on the other day. It was on the telly, and he was in it. And I was like, what? Yeah, mental. But, like, we had great, like, and also Sean, my amazing friend Sean Needham, who
came over with you for Kinky Boots, didn't he?
We did Kinky Boots together as well. Yeah, he was Don in Kinky Boots. He was on the tour as well. So Brian did some of the dates. Sean was then Hart for some of the dates, and like doing the show with him was unbelievable. Like, yeah, we had some. That show was super, 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 super brilliant.
And before I bring Chelsea on as well, because you lead it onto a great point, because the fact that there were so many different combinations, and obviously with the covers, with the cast changes, obviously Amber going into Chelsea, and then what was going to be
Caroline and Louise, yeah, absolutely.
Like, so for you, like, there must have been that many different versions of the show in your head with different people.
Yeah.
What was it like? What's it like though, working with different people, doing it different ways? Because obviously up until the show actually closed itself, you were supposed to leave just after.
Yeah, I was.
What was
I
it
was
like
supposed to go.
Yeah, so what was it like to sort of do it with everybody and be like the constant anchor throughout?
It was really great, to be honest, because everybody's so different. Everybody's versions were so different and so perfectly suited to them. Look, when a cover goes on, you know, I've been a cover maybe more than I've played roles. It's always fresh and fun, and then when they first go on, it's like that excitement, it's their first show. Then when they settle into it, then you start to then create your own show with that person. So whenever they go on, you know exactly you know what their moves are, and that's amazing. And yeah, like, to go, everybody's versions were so different, and I loved that. It was super fresh, and I you know, and I kind of feel like proud that I got to experience the show from loads of different angles, and with all these brilliant people. So yeah, I feel very lucky.
Speaking of brilliant, let's bring Chelsea on, because Chelsea, again, another Northerner. I like my Geordies. You guys closed the show together, so what was that like, working with each other on that?
Rubbish. It was awful.
Well, we very much became very much in love with each other very quickly.
Yeah, we did. It was pretty instant. It was probably not great for the health of the show. How well we got on with each other. It was a dream.
I'm sort of, in a way, you know, it was so nice to go out with. Well, it would have been nice to go out with, you know, anyone, but it's so lovely that we got to go out together.
Oh my God, yeah. because that wasn't the plan. Like, obviously 2 weeks later, if the lockdown hadn't have happened on whenever it was, I don't know, like the 16th of March or something, I was supposed to leave the show 2 weeks later, and the brilliant Georgie was supposed to go in, and that obviously would have been fantastic. She's brilliant, but selfishly to go out with that show, obviously for the how long I'd been with it, but most importantly, like the people that I was with, like that was, you know, selfishly very, very lovely.
It's closure, isn't it? It's sort of like that closure. Obviously, 2 weeks premature, but you got to go out on a high.
Yeah, I'm just gutted that then the show didn't carry on. Georgie, you know, and didn't get. I know she was on the tour, but like Georgie didn't have that with the guys that she maybe hadn't have worked with before, and then the people that
and Jen
were
didn't
staying
get to
on
do her like couple of weeks,
her run, and then all the people like Chelsea didn't get to finish her show, and the rest of the cast didn't get to, you know, tie it up in a bow and then close, you know, because the show was going to then, you know, go.
I think the weirdest thing was that we didn't know that was the last show. Like, perhaps that was naive of me, but I just, because it's never happened before, because the West End's never shut down, I was like, as if that would happen. And I feel like from the Saturday to the Monday, like the whole world, it just changed very quickly.
None of us did. I remember us leaving. They were like, you just have to go. And we were all, there was almost, even though obviously the weight and the severity of that thing, you know, that horrible, horrible, horrible virus, because it was so new, that hadn't really sunk in. And we were all a bit like, okay, well, we're obviously going to finish the show. You know, I'm obviously going to do my last show in 2 weeks. You're obviously going to finish the show in, you know, 6 weeks. It really hadn't hit, I don't think, any of us, that actually the reality was that wasn't going to happen at all.
Yeah. It was when Broadway shut down as well. I remember getting a text from my best friends. I'd come back from work and she said, Broadway shut down. I was like, you what? It's like, it was when Broadway shut down, I think that was the sort of like, right, this is going to happen to the West End, isn't it?
Yeah. We were in warm-up and literally people on their phones, and it was like, there was like a buzz in the air, and everyone was like, another one's just said, they're closing, another one's just said, and we're still sort of carrying on. I think we must have been one of the last shows to find out, and then we literally got to the end of what would have been our warm-up, and it was like, yeah, it was just bizarre. It was super bizarre. It was so weird.
We'll talk about that a little bit later on, because I'm going to bring Chelsea on. Chelsea, you joined 9 to 5 halfway through the sort of the run of It's The Voice. How was that sort of going in at a sort of not like a natural entry point?
Yeah, I think what was nice was that I actually had rehearsals with the tour cast. So that was sort of strange that we were all learning the show together, and there was 5 of us, including Ben, who were rehearsing with the tour lot. So we sort of, you know, made lots of nice connections and stuff with each other there. And then 5 of us went into town. And it might have felt strange had it been other people, but like Caroline and Natalie in particular were just so welcoming, and they didn't make me feel like the newbie or anything like that. And also, obviously, I had learned the exact show. It was probably weirder for them because they've been used to doing it, you know, with someone for 7 months or whatever. And I remember actually Natalie commenting, so we did like a dress run. So I only got one dress run with them, I believe, before the show that night. And I remember Natalie saying, this is so weird that you just sort of, like, we only met you like whatever 2 weeks ago, and now you're here and like, you know, the show, but we haven't done it together. And I'm sure I might have done some things differently because I might have been taught them slightly differently. But yeah, it was an experience, but it was pretty. I just feel like I had like an adrenaline rush for about the first 2 weeks of doing it. But it was, yeah, amazing.
Because am I right in thinking, first of all, it was your West End debut? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was your West End debut, and then didn't you sort of come in where there was like a bit of holiday, or like you did 2 weeks and then sort of like, because I can remember, if I remember rightly, there was someone saying like Amber was going to have these weeks off and come back and finish and then go and tour.
Yeah, I think it wasn't weeks. It was like I think I did like 3 shows, and then she did that weekend, and then finished on the Saturday, and then I started it properly on the Monday. I don't know why that happened. Like I genuinely don't. That's something, I guess, my agent, that was something between them. But yeah, I did like a couple of days. She did the weekend, and then I started properly on the Monday.
So how did you find out about, so what was your thoughts when you saw that this was potentially going to happen, that you were going to do this?
As in, like, when I got the audition and stuff?
Yeah, when you got the audition and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was in a Sainsbury's car park, and I got the call from my agent, and she was like, "We've had you've got an audition for 9 to 5 the musical," and I was like, "Oh." Like, I hadn't seen it. I hadn't really heard of any of the songs. Obviously, I know Dolly Parton. Like, I love Dolly Parton. And she got mixed up. She went, "Oh, you're playing the part that Natalie McQueen's playing." And I was like, "All right, okay." And she said, "Oh, you're taking over Natalie McQueen." And I was like, "Okay." So then I sort of looked up the cast. And I was like, "Really? Like, is that my casting?" Like, I just didn't think that. I was like, "May is Dolly." I just thought. Anyway, then she sent me to the script, and I was like, "Oh, she just got mixed up." And I just thought, like, I've always had singing lessons and stuff, but have been genuinely told by casting directors. In fact, I was told about 2 weeks before, your voice is not strong enough to do 8 shows a week. I was told in another audition those exact words 2 weeks before. So I was like, well, what's the point? I can't, so I was like, but I'll just go in. And they sent the material, which I much prefer. So they wanted me to sing Get Out and Stay Out from the show. I don't know why. I just like when they just tell you exactly what they want rather than you have to come up with the song. And I was like, I'd never heard it. So I just learned it over the weekend, and then went in and sang it and did a bit of the script. And then they literally called me like when I got home, and then I went in the day after for a recall, and that was it. Like, I just was the same as Nat. I only had 2 auditions, and that was it, which I was really surprised by, because I'd heard from other people that musical theatre auditions can just be so, like, because they've got to get it right. And especially when you're like, if they're casting a whole cast of people, they need to make sure that everyone, has chemistry and stuff. So I was really surprised, but yeah, it was amazing.
And I'm really surprised by that comment as well, because I saw the show not long after you took over, and first of all, that song is one of the best songs in musical theatre.
I know, how had I not heard of it? Like, that's terrible, isn't it? Because it's like, now I realise it's one of those songs.
And then you just knock it out the park every time you do it.
Oh, thank you.
So, like, what was it like once you got into it?
Well, I was super nervous in the rehearsal process, because I really struggled with it. I found it very hard. That's not something I would have ever chosen to sing in, like, me singing lessons. And then I think the adrenaline maybe got me through the first couple of months. And then I had my first experience of, like, having a cold whilst doing a musical. Because, by the way, can I just say, like, I've never had more respect for actors than I do for musical theatre actors. I obviously appreciated them in the first place, but, like, then being amongst them and seeing how much, and then having to do it and look after your body and look after your voice, and the self-preservation is like, it's, my boyfriend always says, he's like, it's like living with an athlete. Like, you have to really, take care of yourself. So I then got a cold, and then I just lost loads of confidence, because going on stage when you don't feel well, when your voice isn't up to scratch, and having to sing anything, but having to sing a song that you already find hard, it did knock my confidence a bit. I won't lie. And then you'd sort of get it back, and then you'd have a good few months or so, or whatever. And yeah, it's just hard being ill and doing shows. It really is. You get this, like, guilt when you have to go off. But yeah, I don't think I knocked it out of the park every night, but I did try.
It's one of those parts as well, because the 3 characters, obviously Violet, Judy, and Doralee, they're so polarized, but there's something about them that just gels together. And I guess with Judy, it's that story arc, and I'm guessing there's not really a story arc like it in musical theatre.
Yeah, I think that's what I really loved about it, was, like, we see her going from this, like, totally green, like, nervous, sort of annoying girl to then getting her confidence, and that was what I found really fun to play, being able to do that.
And did you find there was a pressure coming in as a replacement rather than originating a role? Because obviously we know you from Casualty, we know you from Emmerdale, really iconic sort of, or the iconic TV shows. But did you find it like any sort of pressure replacing someone that had already played this part before?
I didn't feel pressure replacing, because I just think that's just what that's what you do in a musical. Like, nobody plays the part for 25 years. This is just what happens. Someone moves on and someone else takes over. So I didn't feel pressure from that, but I felt pressure from being known mostly for TV, because there might be sort of an opinion that you might have got the role because you're on TV. So then I feel like you need to prove it to people a bit more, because sometimes because I've not trained or anything, as in I didn't go to drama school. I think that can be a thing where people sort of go, oh, well, how can you just rock up and do this? But obviously I haven't just rocked up. I have been having singing lessons, which people wouldn't know, obviously. But so I just felt pressure of that people were maybe either expecting me to be bad, or maybe they're expecting you to be better than you are. I don't know, but the pressure was more about that than replacing someone.
And has it given you a taste to do it again once hopefully everything reopens?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I love musicals, and I didn't know that it would be something I would ever have the opportunity to do. So now that I know that I can do it, but that it's very difficult, there's so many ones that I love and that I'd love to be a part of. But it is, I think it's really hard. Like, I just think anyone that does it is a ledge.
Amazing. Speaking of legends, I'm going to bring Ben on now. So you both rehearsed together with the tour cast. So am I right in thinking that the people that you rehearsed, like, sort of in the parts, were in the show already? Yeah, I thought that was.
Yeah, so basically the people the people that we were replacing, they were going on the tour, so it sort of was the perfect. There was no like doubling up or anything. We were, and then they were going to go on the tour.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it was like a clean switch.
Yeah.
That's actually quite clever. So whoever came up with that idea, well done. I applaud you for that. Chelsea, I'm just going to put you in the waiting room. But Ben, welcome to Friday Night Rambles.
Hello.
So how did you find out about this process?
So I was actually good mates with the guy that played the role before me.
Right.
And I'd been through the audition material with him when he got the job. So then when it came to stage that some people were offered to go on tour and stay in town or whatever, and the role came available, a friend of mine that was in the show that I'd worked with before, she was like, Ben, speak to your agent, get seen for the role of Joe, because Chris is heading off on tour. And I was like, oh, okay. So text my agent, said, can you make sure that I get in the room for this? And hadn't had anything back straight away. And then it got like a few weeks after, and I was like, can we push to make sure I get seen? And it was literally like within a space of 2 days or something, I was in the room, straight in with material, went in and did that. And I'd seen the show before because I'd been to see mates in it. So getting the material at such short notice felt fine, because I'd already sort of learnt it when I was going through it with my mate. Yeah. I was like, oh, I actually learnt this like 6 months ago, actually. So then got to do all that. And it was a really quick turnaround audition-wise for me as well. I don't know if I was called in last minute or what, but they, I was in, say, on the Tuesday, and then they said, can you come back tomorrow to go through the scenes and songs with Caroline, who was on as Violet at the time. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Like, just drop work, get rid of that shift and make it happen. Because I knew it was a role that I'd like to have done. I knew that I'd met Jenny before. She's engaged to one of my good mates from drama school. So it was like, I'd love to work with Jenny. My mate Rianne was such a small world. But I knew there was people in the show that I wanted to work with. So I didn't want to let the opportunity pass me by. So made sure I could get there, went through everything with Caroline, and yeah, got on off like a few days later, I think.
And what was it like to work with Mary Poppins? Because Caroline obviously is known for playing Mary Poppins so well. So what was that like?
I'd actually, when I was in drama school, I was part of like the arts ed choir for this big concert thing, and she was Mary in that. And I met her then, and I remember knocking on her dressing room door and asking for a photograph, but she'd already taken off her wig and costume. And I remember like such like a little drama school geek knocking on the door. She was like, "Come in." I put my head round and she'd got changed, and I literally went, "Oh." And the disappointment on my face that she wasn't Mary anymore, and she was this blonde lady sat there. I was like, "Sorry, I didn't want to be rude. I was hoping to get a photo of you in costume." And we had a little chat, and she let me have a photograph with her carpet bag and umbrella, and we had a photo anyway. But then to meet her, I don't know, 9 years on from that and be playing opposite her, I felt really lucky to do it. But you hear lots of stories how like when Julie Andrews played Mary Poppins, like the camera goes off and she's not quite as sweet and innocent as she is on screen. I think Caroline Sheen's the same.
Absolutely nuts. And you've done some amazing shows looking at what you've done in the past. I mean, Ghost is a musical that I think is so underrated. So what was that like doing Ghost?
Like the biggest privilege. It was a dream to do that show when I left drama school. That's when it came out on the West End. And it was one of those shows that I looked at and thought, oh, I'm never going to be good enough to do that. I'd love to play Sam in Ghost, but I'm never going to be like that standard. And a good mate of mine in my year at drama school went off to do the show. And he's just incredible. And I never thought that I'd follow in like his footsteps. So then I was actually doing a show for the producers, and they asked me to audition for Ghost to take over as first cover Sam. And I remember being like, oh no, it's a bit of a big sing for me. I can't do that. They were like, I'll just come and sing it around the piano. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. Did that. And the day after, they were like, we want you to go and take over as first cover Sam in Ghost. And it was one of those moments where I think at the time that was definitely like the biggest thing I'd done. And I felt like I was going to drop my phone. I was so like overwhelmed when my agent phoned me because it was a dream show. I love the music. I love the story. And even being part of it, I mean, I did a contract in Singapore and then did the Asia tour as well. And it's such an emotional script, and the songwriting in it is so good. I mean, we all know Molly's songs, like the key changes are just perfect to make your heartstrings like absolutely wrenched. You can't help but feel something. And I remember even I played one of the dead bodies at one point. I mean, highlights of my career. And I remember laying as a dead body, and one of my friends, Amy Webb, was on as the cover, Molly. And at the end of the show, she does the Sam, I see you, I can hear you, I can see you. And as a dead body, I went, and like took like an emotional intake of breath, and I was like, oh shit, no, Ben, don't, you're dead. But yeah, honestly, it was like an absolute privilege. And people still say, what's like your dream show to do? And I feel really lucky that my dream show coming out of drama school was Ghost, and I got to do that, and I got to play Sam Wheat or cover Sam Wheat, and cover it with some amazing performers as Molly's as well.
So did you get to go on in town?
No. I with Ghost, I was only on the Singapore Asia contract, right, and then the China Asia contract. No, but
if you got to go on.
Oh yeah. If it ever came back to town, that would be like mega dream to do that again, though.
Because that was
even though I've done it twice before, I'd go back.
Wasn't it? That was the big tour,
yes,
with the big effects and everything.
Yeah.
So what was it like doing that with the big effects? Because that show, everyone went, the special effects are incredible.
Yeah, you're not allowed to talk about lots of them.
Yeah.
Because it's like a certain magician that set up lots of the effects. You're not allowed to discuss them. But I remember the first time I went on as Sam, I'd seen lots of the effects, but never done them. And we hadn't technically finished rehearsing the show as covers yet. So I had Patch, our stage manager, in the wing, like as I was running around to do different things, he'd be like, okay, so stand on number 10, get on this piece of tape, stand there, the fog screen will come in. And I was like also trying to think of your lines and the notes you're singing and to actually act, as well as how technically I need to make these illusions that I've never done yet, like, look effective in front of an audience.
It's like a baptism of fire, especially like with the shows now, all automation, all heavy on mechanics. I'm guessing it's like stand in the wrong place, it's a death trap.
Oh yeah, like the massive LED walls that were coming in and out all the time, and all the stuff coming in from the sides. It's an intense place to be. I mean, there's so much health and safety going on in there as well, and people making sure that nobody's going to hurt themselves. But yeah, you don't want to be that reason why there's a show stop.
Yeah, that would just be carnage. But I'm going to bring Jenny back on. I'm going to bring Natalie back on. I'm going to bring Chelsea back on, because I want to know now, because we've spoken to you all individually. If you were to play someone else's part in 9 to 5, who would you play? Now, Jenny, you can't pick any of your covers, because that's cheating.
Damn it.
I'll put you on the spot, Jenny. Go on.
Oh God, why? It would have to be Dora Lee, because it would have to be. I'm really sorry, Chels. I mean, but yeah, it would have to be. I think that would be. I actually think the reason I'm saying it is because it would be such a massive challenge for me, because it's not necessarily a part that I feel I could immediately do. I think I'd have to really think about it. So I think that would be a real challenge for me. Yeah.
What about you, Natalie?
First of all, Jenny could do it. I don't think there's anything that she couldn't do. I think I would have to pick Roz. Again, no, listen, I love the role of Judy, but I don't want to sing Get Out and Stay Out. At the end of a show, at the end of a show, I'm sorry, it is such an unbelievable song, but it's so at that critical point in a show where you are just starting to come into that wind down of the end of the show. You're starting to wrap everything up, and like. And I don't know, maybe more because like Dora Lee in the back, that's when I would be like in my wind down. So that it was like, oh God, imagine having to like get back up and do something else. And it's so big. Like I think I'd go for Roz, just like little cracking number, and then a cup of tea.
I mean, that number brings the house down heart to heart every time.
It's so great.
It was brilliant. Chelsea, what about you?
I'm going to say Heart because of how many breaks he gets. No, I'm joking.
The thing is, I know, you're not joking, let's be honest.
And so also for the second half, not to spoil it for anyone if you go into the tour, but he's just sort of hanging in the air. Just getting sort of wheeled on and wheeled off.
Yeah.
Or is it Margaret, the one, the drunk? Brilliant.
Ah, that's
brilliant.
One.
I was thought you could have so much fun with that.
She is so much fun. You can do whatever you want throughout the whole show and nobody tells you that it's wrong. It's great.
Yeah.
I changed my answer. I choose Margaret also.
Yeah.
Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I was going to say Margaret as well. I think, honestly, we had, when I joined the show, Molly was playing the role, and I remember sitting in rehearsals and watching her just workshopping like how to be drunk in the corner of the room. And she thought, I know, I'll pick up my stapler instead of my phone. But she picked up with such like gusto. She hit herself in the face with a metal stapler, and she was just sat there bleeding, but didn't want to tell anyone.
Oh my God.
She was
it's
fully
also one of those
in that
roles
role.
that like, if you make she'd always be like, her wig would be a bit like skew with, and she'd be just like and the worst thing is that she was able to make us laugh because that was just in her character, but we weren't obviously supposed to be laughing. I was like, you can do what you bloody want.
She always forgot to give me props in around here. Always. She looked at me and go, what?
So immersed in the character.
All the time.
What's the hardest song of the show for that you had to do?
I will say, sorry, the song around here, the rest of the cast had to do this really quick swapping of files, and like they were all sort of, I couldn't see them, they were sort of behind me. Well, I got past a couple, but most of the people are sort of behind me, and I could just and there would just be ones like on the floor, just like giving each other like paper cuts, like slamming them into each other's hands. I did not envy you guys doing that.
It was so fast, and you weren't allowed to look. You had to just grab them.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Oh, nightmare.
Jenny, did you have to buy lots of moisturising cream then for the paper cuts?
Oh, no, that would have been a disaster. We would have dropped them even more. We had moisturised hands. Yeah, no. It was good fun, but yeah.
Let's talk about the cast album as well, because obviously Jenny and Nat, you were involved in a original cast album. So what was that like, doing that and then finding out all about that?
That was a dream. I don't know about you, Jenny. That was like a dream come true for me, to be honest. I mean, listen, I don't mean to brag. I am on the original cast recording of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang at the London Palladium. So, but no, to do a cast album like as an adult for a start, and as you know, a role like that was like a dream come true. And I actually like Chelsea, when we did Saturday Night Takeaway, Chelsea played something from the car. You played like Hey Boss, and I was like, that is bizarre to me. Like, it is like a different group of people that did that. It's like, it's not me. It's bizarre to think about that. But it was also the most stressful 6 shows, whatever they recorded, the most stressful 6 shows of my entire life. I scrutinized everything that I did, everything that came out my mouth.
I've never been more aware of the 3 or 4 lines that I had in the middle of one number than over those 6 shows. Never been more aware. But it was actually, what was interesting about that cast recording was that it was a bit different to other cast recordings in that we didn't go to a studio. They recorded the live shows, which is not something that I've ever been part of before. Yeah, it was really interesting.
It was very, very bizarre, because you are live. I was very lucky. Like just before we finished Kinky Boots, we filmed the movie, but a lot of that in the daytime. There are only like a particular few scenes, like the finale and one scene that I did that were live. So the whole thing in the daytime, you had a couple of goes at it, like it was, very sort of relaxed and chill. When you're live and you know that they're only recording your voice, it's petrifying, because then when you are singing backwards Barbie, all that you're thinking was that was rubbish. Really? That's what you're going to do? Awful choice. Awful. Too much vibrato. Shut up. That's all that's going through your head.
Especially if you're doing it over a week as well.
Yeah.
It
was something like, wasn't it? Was it 6 shows or something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah. But I made like the best. I'm so proud of it. Yeah. I actually, my best friend, for some reason, went into like a HMV, which I did not know exists still, by the way. This was like end of last year. My best friend Vicky was in a HMV, and she sent me a picture of the hard copy, the CD, and I was like, you have to buy me it. So I literally got the hard copy, because I know I don't have a CD player. I gave it to my parents, but I wanted to see the insert and see all the pictures and like the names, because like you don't get that anymore. And it was
not good
amazing.
Enough just having it on Spotify. Yeah,
no, it was so good to have.
I didn't know there was a hard copy.
There's a physical CD copy. Exactly.
We'll have to find you one, Jenny. We'll have to send you one.
Yeah.
Ben, Chelsea, I'll come to you first on this one. Why do you think 9 to 5 resonates with people? What is it about this show that really resonates with people?
I'm like, go on.
I think people love it because it's such a laugh. I think it starts with a bang, and throughout the entire show, it keeps you laughing. But you invest so much into the 3 women, and I think there's certain parts of all 3 of them that resonates with everyone. We all wish we stood up for ourselves a little bit more. We all have put a little bit too much pressure on ourselves. We all try and look a certain way to impress somebody else, or you know what I mean? Like, everyone's got a part of each of those girls within them, and because you resonate with every one of them, you want them all to win. So you're kind of egging on throughout the entire show. And when they get pissed off with heart, you get pissed off with heart. And I think the writing's really good in that sense, but at the same time you're not there, and it's not preachy in any sense. It's such a sense of fun. Every time you feel something, you then laugh 10 seconds later, so it keeps your emotions in such like a high place. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's a happy ending if you haven't seen it.
Chelsea, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think the same actually. I was going to sort of say that, it's sort of, I think why it was so successful maybe this time round was because of the female empowerment sort of, movement with what's sort of going on at the minute, but also more to the point as well. I think like what Ben's saying is like, it is just fun. And I think we can go and see really arty, things that really make you feel something, and you maybe have a bit of a cry, but personally, sometimes I want to go and see something just to escape. And I think it did that. I feel like the show laughs at itself. It knows the parts that are maybe a bit OTT and in fact just makes them even bigger. So I think that's why people loved it, because it was a proper good few hours of pure escape.
Yeah. Nat, Jenny, do you want to add anything to that?
No, and also Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
What was that like when she walked out on press night? That.
Well, we'd met her before.
We met her. Yeah.
We met her at the one show. Well, did you? Well, we knew that she was there. I got to meet her at the one show. Then we got to meet her in her suite
hotel
at the Savoy. And so then we already knew that she was going to come out. She like, I know this sounds super like lame, but she's exactly as nice as everybody says that she is. It's bizarre. And it was amazing, like the buzz in the theatre. Everyone knew she was there though, because she was sitting. Grant, my boyfriend, was actually in the dress circle. He was like a couple of like seats away from her, and he said the theatre was like buzzing, because you obviously get your like celebrities there anyway, because people come to see a press night. But knowing that Dolly Parton is there, it was unbelievable, the buzz. And then the sign lifts up, and then she comes out. She's like this big, with heels this big. No, it's just ridiculous. Amazing. Yeah, it is amazing.
And it must be odd as well, because you're singing along with that. It was out again without spoiling it. It was lots of spoilers tonight, but Dolly is really central to the show. So what is it
She's like a narrator.
What is it like to say that you sing with Dolly Parton every night?
Cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. More, and just to say like she wrote, to say that she wrote that song for us and stuff like that. There were a lot of really cool moments during 9 to 5 that were very like, that never happened to me before, and I don't know if that had to happen to some other people, but yeah, like I say, even just the Dolly Parton factor, people that never seen a musical before will come in and see 9 to 5, and that's a huge thing. And even like for me, like going to like my train station at my house and seeing the 9 to 5 poster at my home train station, because they know they can promote that show anywhere, because people will go to where Dolly Parton is. People will go for Dolly Parton. Yeah.
Jenny, I have to ask about this because it's mental. The birthday cake incident. Let's talk about that, right?
Well, it didn't. It almost was an incident.
Oh, what, the first birthday cake?
What, my trolley, almost trolley disaster. Yeah. So it was put on, what was it? Was it on the mail cart?
Yeah.
And I'd never pushed the mail cart because I didn't play the mail boy. I didn't cover the mail boy. Believe it or not, that was the part I didn't cover. I'd never pushed it before. So it was on stage and I'd agreed. I think we did like a little mini rehearsal of this is how it's going to work, and then you need to wheel it off. But I hadn't actually pushed the cart. So with the cake on it as well, it was really heavy. And it was almost like, when you go to the supermarket and you've got that one wheel on the trolley that doesn't want to go the way that you want it to go. So I was trying to push it and also trying to be like, hey, audience, yeah, I'm pushing the cake off into the wing, and went straight into the wing. And it, when something wobbles, but it wobbles in slow motion to you. And it wasn't going anywhere, but it wobbled. And I thought, someone's going to get this on camera, which they did. Those the crazy fans, they got it on camera. But yeah, thank God that didn't fall off though, because I'd have been in trouble.
Any other mishaps that happened over the sort of the run that are memorable?
Always. I fell over. Do you remember the time I fell over? I don't know. I think it was Carol. Who was on? I can't remember. Do you know at the end when we took Brian up in Shine Like the Sun and we're all looking up and we're all laughing, when the Brian's all done, and we're all looking. I lifted up my shoe. My heel got caught in my coat. It made my knee give way and I just collapsed to the floor onto my knees.
No.
Yeah. Then the heel got caught and I couldn't get up, so I was acting. Caroline thought I was just going for it. And then I got tweets from fans saying, why were you on the floor?
I love Caroline just thought you were going for it. Like, that was a choice.
She was like, what's she doing? It's not that big a deal. I was on the floor because I was just like, well, I'm trapped. Because it was proper in the lining of the coat.
Oh my God. Brilliant. We had a door, beginning of the second act, there's Violet's number. And 4 of us, Ben included, were stood behind this door and we came through the door. The door's meant to spin. And in the first company, it happened more than once, but somebody hadn't unhooked it. So I went to push it and nothing happened. So the door didn't move. So everybody behind it had to kind of trickle around the sides of this bookcase, like, surprise, because we couldn't open the door. I think in the end they spun it around, but there was loads of stuff like that. Like things not moving, things being not having their brakes on, desks spinning down the stage.
Oh, the desk choreography. How did you not like get injured on those things?
We did.
Yeah.
Oh,
there were quite a few.
Yeah, lots of shin bangs.
Like as someone who I didn't have to push those desks. Whenever I would like try, or if someone like, I remember being in the wing when like Landor had to bring something off in the wing, and so like if I was there, I would like help. They were heavy, like they were not light. They were full desks with. They had like was it like the battery and stuff in there as well? They had like a battery pack in there.
Like hydraulic.
They were very heavy. It was unbelievable, really. The ensemble for pushing those around, unbelievable, really unbelievable. Yeah.
Anything for you, Chelsea?
I feel like nothing. Oh, I remember I had like a nosebleed once, sort of. So every time I was off stage, I was having to like sort of blow it into a tissue and then sort of just try not to breathe through my nose in the scenes. But many times sort of got my heels were like the perfect size for the little tracks that were on the stage for things that go on and off like walls and doors and stuff. My heels were just like the perfect size for that. So many a time I sort of lost a shoe for a second and then had to run back for it and put it back on. To the point where I ended up having these massive circular plastic things on the bottom of my shoe, which just really, really spoilt the look. But it was the only way that I could walk safely.
Mental. I want to come back to the Hasselhoff because I'm still trying to process the fact that you got to work with David Hasselhoff. I'm sorry, but it's David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
So what was that like when you found out that David Hasselhoff was coming in to the show?
Well, what happened was that he announced his presence to the whole auditorium when he came to watch the show, and he was wearing a silver tracksuit. And he came to watch the show, and he was sat in the. Do you remember this, Jenny? He was sat in the stalls, and we heard in the interval. We're all in the wings waiting to go on for Act 2, and we just heard a screaming. And it's because he stood up and said, "Hi, yes, it is." Something like, "Yeah, it's me. It's David Hasselhoff. I'm here." Yeah. So a few of us sort of put 2 and 2 together there of why he might possibly be there. And it was mental. Like, it is bizarre, isn't he? He's like the most famous man in America or something.
Yeah,
Germany,
in the world.
He's big in Germany.
Yeah, huge. Like I say, he's in. You put the TV on, he will be on a program.
Yeah.
They'll be talking about him. He'll be on it. He's in the SpongeBob movie.
He's in everything.
He's in everything.
We didn't do, put it this way, we didn't do the same show twice with him. So every single, and it was, as you're saying, it was David Hasselhoff. So to be able to say to other people, we've worked with David Hasselhoff, that's really cool. But we did not know what we were going to get. We didn't know which lines we were going to get. We didn't know what he was going to do. And it was a masterclass. Well, to us, we were the masterclass in flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Didn't you get to dance with David Hasselhoff, did you go on as Roz at any point?
Oh, yes, I did. I got to dance with him. We had to, understandably so, I am very, very much taller and broader than the beautiful Bonnie Langford. So we had to change a couple of little bits because he's also, I think, is it knee replacements he's had?
Yeah, I think so. He is also, how old is he again? Am I right in thinking,
Seven.
70, yeah.
Yeah, something
yeah.
like that. So,
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lot to be throwing women
Yeah.
around.
So much, but he just so wanted to be able to do it and to not let her down. So he really went for it and was like, nope, I'll do everything that's set. I'm going to do everything. He was really up for it, and he gave it, he gave it everything he had. But yeah, we had to change a couple of lift things just because it wasn't fair to ask him to lift someone who was about 3 or 4 times the weight of Bonnie Langford. But I tell you what, I have to say, I really enjoyed it. It was so cool, again, to be able to go, God, I danced with David Hasselhoff. That's really cool. Claim to fame. But yeah.
It's bizarre how normal those people, like, again, it's David Hasselhoff. And then when you start working with them, it's bizarre how normal that situation becomes, isn't it? It's like, oh, yeah. And you don't realise until you...
Like hearing him in the corridor, just like, oh, he's just coming into work.
Yeah.
So strange.
Absolutely nuts. And you mentioned it before earlier, Natalie, Saturday Night Takeaway. What was that like going back in sort of like during this whole weird time?
Honestly, the biggest fear was I going to fit in the costume? Like, I'm being deadly serious. That was the biggest fear. And also, like, the joy of seeing these like, some of, obviously it wasn't our full cast because we couldn't have everybody there, but some of the people, and especially Chelsea and Caroline, like, was unbelievable. That was joyous, and it was really mental because I was really genuinely like, what if I can't do this anymore? Like, because that's been such a long time since we've done it.
And doing that on TV is so different to doing it on stage. Like, there was about 20 crew members who are just busy doing their job, so they're not really watching, and obviously there was no audience because of what's going on. So in some ways, like when we were rehearsing, it felt the same. Like, like, oh, some of us are back together in the costume and the wig. Like, that felt really surreal. I was like, oh, it doesn't feel like that long ago since I was in it. But then when we were performing, I was like, this feels so strange. Also, we didn't sing our version of the song, so that was also very different.
And there were breaks in it so that people could sing
and get the words wrong.
Yeah, get the words wrong.
We got the words wrong.
We got the words wrong. Gordon Ramsay was up watching us in the booth. I was fuming because I couldn't meet him. It was a real emotion, full of emotions.
Real day, yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing to be with those. I wish everyone could have been there. I really do.
I think that love and energy was reciprocated across the internet. I mean, it's Saturday Night Takeaway. It's Ant and Dec. Biggest show on TV. And we're going to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes, but I really want to know what from each of you, what has been the highlight of doing 9 to 5? Like, what if there's anything that you're going to take away from doing the show for however long you did it? What was like the highlight of doing it? Let's start with Ben.
I think the company. That sounds like a really wanky answer, but honestly, so many lovely people to work with and such a high level of talent. That's what I'm taking away from it, and the fact it was such a good fun show. So even though some people didn't see the show as groundbreaking theatre, you knew every single night the audience left with massive smiles on their faces, and you'd affected them for that night.
Yeah, I don't think that could be summed up any better. Chelsea?
My highlight was obviously the people. The people are, I think that's probably the same as what anyone would say, as in, they're what you take away from it. Like that's the most important part. I think if you were doing the job of your dreams, if the people around you weren't nice, or for whatever reason you weren't enjoying it, I think it really wouldn't matter that the job itself was something that you had wanted to do, if you know what I mean. I think it's always the people. But the highlight for me was probably my first night. Because I just think I'll never get that feeling back, like a debut, that kind of thing. That's something that I'll always sort of remember.
And Natalie?
Yeah, my mates, like I speak to some of these people like nearly every day. And I wouldn't change that. I learned a lot about myself on that show, and about, how I cope in situations, and how I learned so much about myself. But I've taken away some of like the best friends, really.
And Jenny?
I mean, I can absolutely second, or I guess fourth, what everybody said about the people. Really, it's very, very unusual that you'll get a group of performers in one space that you can genuinely say you could have a chat with any of them. But I think that I have to mainly take away how lucky I am, and I feel it every day, to have worked with people who I already respected and watched what they do, who have taught me, reminded me, and given me the confidence that I can do what I did, and stand on a stage and be a more of a leading role in a show. And I actually can't thank them enough, because I mean, I tell you what, being on stage with the three people in this call alone for the end of that run just was so important. And I don't know whether I could really put into words how important it was. So I feel very lucky for that. And that's what I would take away from it.
And I think that's a perfect note to end on. Do you know what? Tonight, it's been quite a bittersweet night, in the sense, obviously, reminiscing about obviously things that have happened, but also just looking ahead. And just Ben, Jenny, Chelsea, Natalie, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really do appreciate it. And next week is our final episode of the series. It's been quite a long one with everything that's gone on, but we've got an absolute magical, hint, 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 treat for you next week, which is going to be announced early next week, so stay tuned for that. And stay tuned for the competition. I know I've been saying every week I'm going to launch the competition. I'm literally about a week away from finishing uni, and I'm going to graduate, and I'm going to have lots of time to set everything up, so I'm just excited for that. But a massive thank you to Ben, to Chelsea, to Natalie, and to Jenny for coming on tonight, and we will see you hopefully in the theatre really soon. Chelsea, I forgot to say, you've got something at the West End drive-through coming up. Is it next week you're doing?
Yes, next Saturday. So Saturday the 29th. Don't know what I'm singing yet, but come and see it.
Go and see it. Go honk your horns and cheer and do whatever you need to do.
I believe you can party outside your car now.
Is that allowed?
Your car, and then you can. There's pedestrian tickets, I think they're saying. So you can stand, which is better for me, because if I couldn't hear anyone and they're just like feeling,
send us the details. We'll put them on our socials for you. But thank you so much. Have a lovely night, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.